Welcome to the Sweep Series predictions, where we go through 5 college baseball series coming up over the next week and predict which teams we think are going to win and calculate our overall standings. Right now, both of us are 3-2 after week one, so hopefully that turns a little bit around in the future. But we have 5 exciting matchups this week to preview and predict. So starting things off with maybe the top one, maybe the second, but we'll see. With number 17 UCLA facing number 6 TCU at TCU. I think this should be competitive. Hopefully it is. I have TCU taking it just because they should be a top team. They should be able to take UCLA, at least win the series. Maybe not sweep. We'll have to see on that. UCLA we have ranked and has a lot of talent on their roster, but maybe a little bit less experience than this TCU squad is. And at home, TCU I think should be able to handle them.
Yeah, should be a competitive series, and yeah, UCLA is kind of question marks right now. Just haven't really solidified themselves necessarily since a lot of people were injured last year. A lot of new faces in the lineup, people that are kind of unproven, but a lot of top end talent. And we had the same 5 picks last week, so I'm gonna go ahead and just break it up right now. I'm gonna take UCLA on the road. Um, Especially with the TCU pitching staff looking a little shaky this past week. Not necessarily down on TCU because of that, but it does give me a glimmer of hope for this UCLA team. And like we said, unproven, and there's a high ceiling. So I'm hoping that they step up to the plate and fill the shoes.
Hey, if that happens, then you might see them skyrocket up the rankings because I've mentioned it before. They're like my surprise team to make Omaha. I think they have a really good chance if they're able to, capitalize on their potential there. So if they're able to beat a TCU team, then they could really jump up the rankings. At least for myself, I think that if they're able to do this early in the season, it really shows that they have the capabilities of following through the rest of the season and maybe competing for the top of the Pac-12. But after that, the second really good series this week is number 10 East Carolina versus number 19 North Carolina. It's a split series, one at home, one on the road, and then one neutral game. So really no home field advantage, and both teams being in the Carolinas, it's a lot of fans close to home, be able to travel probably to any of these games. I have East Carolina getting the edge. We came into the year thinking that East Carolina might just have a little bit more polish on them over North Carolina, especially with Trey Savage as a dominant starter. I think getting that first win should really be able to propel East Carolina into the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, UNC was my most overrated team of the year pick in our preseason show. So not going to be able to take them in their first competitive series of the year. I'm sticking with East Carolina. They were in my 8 for Omaha as well. Really high on this team, and think this could be the year they finally break into Omaha. And so going to take them in this series, like you said. It's all over the place location wise, but still close to home, and think they'll be able to handle it.
Yep. And then another interesting series that we wanted to highlight was number 11 NC State going to Hawaii. You never know how the team's going to show up in Hawaii. Long trip to get there, and it's kind of like a vacation once you're there. Don't know how players are going to really react to being in an environment like that. I still have NC State winning it, but I do think Hawaii could easily take one game or take the series if NC State doesn't show up on their game.
Yeah, fun trip and good vibes, but that travel time is absolutely brutal, especially if you're coming all the way from the East Coast like they are. And we just saw Hawaii do very well against Ole Miss this past weekend, so certainly capable of being competitive against talented teams. But I'm also going to take NC State. Can't go against my preseason picks for a lot of things on the good side, so gonna stick with NC State here.
Yeah, I could see that one coming. Like you mentioned, Hawaii was super competitive and got good results against Ole Miss. I do think NC State has, the ability to do a lot better than Ole Miss does. We've seen the ups and downs that the Rebels have gone through over the past few years, and it seems like they're still on that downward trajectory. Maybe they'll turn things around, but NC State is definitely a team that is higher up there for now and should be able to handle Hawaii. Next up, we have UConn at Cal. This is one that I think for me could go either way. I was really uncertain which way to go here. I decided to stick with Cal. I think they're a team right outside our top 25, maybe, in that 35 range around there, something like that. If they're able to beat UConn, there's a decent chance if spots open up that they could jump into the top 25 there. UConn has shown over the past few years that they are very solid competition, and I think they could be able to take the series at Cal, but I'm going to stick with the home team here, and yeah, hopefully it pans out.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go with UConn on the road here, taking the mid major to pull off the upset. Cal did just have a solid weekend, pulling off a win against Kansas State, but UConn also had a good weekend as well, and just got a feeling that I want to take them on the road. But like you said, I think it's going to be a tight series. I think it's going to be a competitive one, all three games, and so could go either way.
Yep, and then lastly, our fifth series prediction this week for week 2 in college baseball is Navy versus Air Force in the Freedom Classic. Just an iconic series here. I'm gonna let you choose your series winner first, and we'll see what my response is.
Yeah, I think Air Force has a lot of talent on the squad. We saw some of those top end players in our best player rankings, but I'm actually going to go with Navy here. I think they could end up being the more complete team at the end of the year, and another one just like the Yukon Cal series where it's going to be tight, but you kind of just gotta take your feel. And I'm going to go with Navy in this one.
Well, surprise, surprise. I'm more of an Air Force guy myself. I've always been. It's known. Um, I think their record right now at 1-3 doesn't really show the competition they face. They went to Mississippi State, lost the series there, and then just lost a Monday game versus Southern Miss, who is a team recently that has been all over the place in regionals. So faced really tough competition. Maybe that'll elevate them through this first weekend or second weekend game here, especially because they've already seen what good teams can do, and Air Force, has good players to be able to potentially match up against this Navy squad and put up some good numbers. So I'll stick with Air Force. Switch things up between the two of us, get some different predictions out there, and yeah, we'll see how things land.